YouTube? It's your boy Lang, man, and I'm back here with another reaction video, Slime. And right now, I'm about to react to Dennis Rader or Rader. This one is called the BTK Killer. You feel me? Now with this one right here, a lot of y'all been hitting me to react to this. You feel me? For a minute, y'all was like, bro, you gotta react to this Dennis Rader. You gotta react to the BTK Killer. You feel me? And y'all been requesting this for real forever since I for real started doing the forensic files and like the murder, like, you know what I'm saying, the murder, like unsolved like murders and all that, you feel me? And a lot of y'all been hitting me to do this, you feel me? Because a lot of y'all was like, Lang, bro, like these are one of them ones that you're gonna be like, what the, like, feel me? It's gonna have you like that, you feel me? And I told y'all to send it to me, y'all sent it to me, you feel me? And I figure why not do it, especially tonight. Well, right now, if y'all watching this, it's Halloween, you feel me? And I want to say happy Halloween to all my peoples that are watching me, you feel me? For real, you feel me? And y'all be safe for real, you feel me? Because, like, you got the, obviously, everybody know the police is out, like, for real tonight, because, you know what I mean? So just stay safe, feel me? But, and I hope, and if y'all are watching this after like the next day, I hope y'all had a good Halloween, you feel me? And for the little homies that are watching me, you feel me, I hope y'all like got all the candy and all that, you feel me? But we about to get into this. And if y'all new too, make sure y'all hit that sub button, you feel me? Like, I know a lot of y'all, you feel me, like a lot of y'all be saying, Lang, bro, like where can I catch the other like forensic file and all that react? Bro, I got a playlist on the channel, you feel me, with all the forensic file reactions I've done, with all the murder videos, all the murder cases I've done, like, we've all that, you feel me? So go check those out if you haven't, you feel me? But we about to, y'all know what these murder case videos, with the forensic file videos, we about to chill for the next 20-25 minutes. So make sure you get your favorite smoke, drink, whatever, like, because we about to find out like why this man even, feel me? So we about to get into it, Slime. Let's get it. And like I said, man, I hope y'all staying safe this Halloween, for real, you feel me? But let's get it.
A lot of crimes, criminals, bad things on this channel because apparently you guys just love the darker stuff. Well, eat your black heart out, because I now have a long form, about an hour long weekly podcast covering some of the darkest things that I could find, from the UK doctor who's the worst serial killer in history to the time an American socialite murdered her best friend with her car, allegedly, and totally got away with it, and much more. But it's also laid back, more freeform, with the occasional laugh, because isn't death hilarious? So let's jump into it today. Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac. These are names that still evoke...
My camera about to die, but it is what it is. And too, bro, if y'all hearing something in the background, bro, that's my heater. You feel me? Like, bro, because Slime is cold, bro. Like, feel me? So it is what it is. But let's get back into it, Slime. Let's go.
Fear and dread in the hearts of many people, decades, even centuries after they were first mentioned. This is due to a simple reason: they were never caught or identified. These men were able to carry out gruesome killing sprees, fulfilling their darkest desires, and then get away with it. For decades, there was another chilling name on that list: BTK, short for bind, torture, kill. A murderous maniac who began terrorizing Wichita, Kansas during the 1970s. He evaded capture during the original investigation. During the 80s and early 90s, he had become such a ghost that he killed 3 more people without the police even realizing that it was him doing it. Wow. Afterwards, he completely went underground, stopped all communication, and erased all hope that he might one day be identified. Well, almost all hope. In the end, his craving for attention made him reach out again. One mistake later, and he was identified and arrested. It might have happened 30 years after his killing spree started, but BTK finally had a real name: Dennis Rader. Dennis Lynn Rader was born on March the 9th, 1945, one of 4 sons to William and Dorothea Rader. He was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas, but raised in Wichita, the same place where he would carry out his spree of terror decades later. Rader attended Wichita Heights High School and later enrolled at Wichita State University in 1964. College wasn't for him though, so he dropped out and joined the United States Air Force when he was 21 and spent the next 4 years as a mechanic. When he returned back to Kansas, Rader wanted to complete his college education, but it proved problematic for him as he switched between multiple institutions. He finally obtained a degree in administration of justice in 1979. Meanwhile, he supported himself with various jobs in Park City, Kansas, a suburb of Wichita, including as an assembler for a camping gear company, a grocery store employee, and an installation manager for a home security company called ADT Security Services. That third one occurred while BTK was active and was, in fact, one of the main reasons why so many people were getting home security systems in the first place. Little did any of them know that the person they were allowing into their homes to make themselves feel safer was the same person they wanted to be protected from. In 1971, Dennis Rader married a woman called Paula Dietz, and they had 2 children together, Carrie and Brian. On the outside, it seemed very much like your typical humdrum family life, and it would be decades until people discovered that there was actually something much darker hiding beneath the surface. As we later found out after BTK was finally apprehended, Dennis Rader did not have the type of traumatic childhood that we often associate with serial killers. He felt ignored by his parents because they worked long hours, but that was about it. Even so, sadistic urges began developing in Dennis.
Bro, you felt ignored because your parents was out working hard for you, bro? Like, what? That doesn't, like, what?
As from an early age, his sexual fantasies revolved around pain and bondage. He started by cutting out female forms from magazines, drawing gags and ropes around them, and gluing them onto 3x5 index cards, which he carried around with him. As a teenager, Rader took up peeping into windows and stealing women's underwear. He began getting sexually excited by seeing animals being tortured and killed. He started off by watching chickens being sent to the slaughter, but then advanced to doing the killing himself, hanging a cat and a dog. He enjoyed being spanked and tied up, but liked it even more to see the same being done to women. Whenever he was aroused by such an act, he called it Sparky Big Time, and the point of
Bro, this dude, bro, you are a weird like, bro, you are... What? Bro, you was already off. Feel me? Like... That's crazy, bro.
Max was called the Big G. In fact, Rader had a whole vocabulary, or codex as he preferred it, which he used in order to refer to his crimes. He borrowed a lot of terms from true crime magazines from the 1950s and 60s. He called his victims projects, while a killing was a hit. He referred to the murderous persona that lived inside him, full of violent sexual impulses, as the Minotaur. When it was time to switch from his normal, everyday family guy facade to the Minotaur, he called it going dark.
And bro, what's the most weirdest thing about, bro, you got nicknames for all your little weird fans, and like, dude, you're weird. You feel me? Like, you were weird from the get-go. Like, it's not even your parents, bro. Like, it's you, bro. Like, your parents was working hard. You feel me? Like, trying to provide for you, and then you out here just, feel me? Like, that's weird, man. And it just, like, that's weird, bro. It's weird.
And lastly, he described the force that drove him to kill as some kind of mysterious element dubbed Factor X. There are 2 likely reasons why he came up with all of these terms, according to psychologists. The first would be to help distance himself from the reality of what he was doing. In his mind, he wasn't murdering a person. No, he was going dark to work on a project. And it couldn't be his fault if he was driven to do it by some magical Factor X. The second reason was to simply make himself feel more special. Rader had the narcissistic personality you'd expect from a killer like him, and it exhibited in typical fashion, giving himself a name in the media, taunting the police, and trying to create some kind of mysterious, impenetrable persona that made him unique among killers. The irony here is that by doing these things to make himself feel special, he was displaying the standard behavior of an egomaniacal psychopath.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
With time, Rader became bolder and bolder when it came to living out his S&M dreams. When he was with the Air Force, he drew his fantasies on pieces of paper that he burned when he left base. He claimed that he visited prostitutes, but most of them were too intimidated by him and refused to play out his bondage ideas. Sometimes he broke into homes and stole women's underwear, which he added to his collection. This was a habit which continued through his entire spree. Rader took many keepsakes from his victims, and for quick access, he placed them in various spots around Wichita, which he called hidey holes. Of course, as the years went on, drawings and voyeurism became insufficient to satisfy Rader's urges. It was only a matter of time until he finally progressed to what he truly wanted: murder. Rader carried out his first attack on January the 15th, 1974, and he started out big as he targeted an entire family, husband and wife, Joseph and Julie Otero, alongside two of their children, 9-year-old Joseph Jr. and 11-year-old Josephine. He did it in the morning as well, while the children were getting ready for school, and the family also had a dog which could have alerted the neighbors. In other words, this was a high-risk crime, so Rader got pretty lucky that he wasn't caught right at the outset. According to the killer himself, he snuck inside the Otero's detached garage and waited for his opportunity. Then, a little after 8:30 a.m., Joseph Jr. exited the house to go to school. That is when Rader, armed with a knife and a .22 caliber pistol, forced him back inside and confronted the entire family. In order to keep them at ease, he told the Oteros that this was a...
Bro, you don't get no cool point, none of that, bro. You did that to a kid, bro. You feel me? Like, man, this is exactly why I tell y'all for real to stay safe, because you got weird and like him, and it's like, bro, like, people like you shouldn't even exist, bro. You feel me? And it's crazy because it's like it seems like you didn't even come from that type of so like you was just fascinated with just doing this type of, so you didn't even, like, bro, you didn't have no read, none of that to be doing this to these type of people, like, to these people. Like, you're doing it because you're getting the thrill and all that. Like, bro, like, something was wrong with you, man. And that's why I tell you, like, bro, that's why I tell all y'all, like, that watch me, for real, like, bro, be safe, because, bro, like, you got people like this in this world, bro. Feel me?
Robbery, and that they would not be harmed if they did what he said. The family complied. First, the father put the dog outside, and afterwards, they allowed themselves to be taken into the bedroom and tied up. At this point, it was too late for them. They were completely at Rader's mercy, which did not exist. He had been fantasizing about this moment for decades. He killed the Oteros by strangulation and suffocation, using either a length of rope or plastic bags. Sometimes he would allow them to catch their breath and regain consciousness before dying, just so he could strangle them again. None of the victims were sexually assaulted, although the murderer's semen was found at the scene, and it later proved instrumental in getting Rader convicted. And if you want to make the crimes just a bit more horrifying, the bodies were found by one of the other Otero children, 15-year-old Charlie Otero. At the scene, Wichita police were stunned into shock. Not only were these the most gruesome murders they had ever seen, but they happened in broad daylight in a quiet neighborhood. Plus, the killer clearly planned the whole thing in advance, as he was careful to bring along tapes, hoods, wire cutters, cords, and most likely a gun, everything he needed in order to subdue the whole family. There were no signs of forced entry or a struggle, and no evidence of a robbery, apart from Joseph Otero's watch, which was missing. After he was done, the killer even left in the Otero's car. The circumstances surrounding the crimes didn't immediately scream serial killer, so the police investigated the possibility that the Oteros might have been marked for execution by a criminal organization. However, looking into their backgrounds, they could find nothing to suggest a possible motive for such a thing. Plus, there were still the semen traces on the floor, which definitely did not indicate a professional hit. Ultimately, when talking to the press, the Wichita Police Chief, Floyd Hanlon, said that the crimes had been perpetrated by a killer with a fetish.
Yeah. And what's the most weirdest part about this, bro? How you did this to innocent, and it's like you got off on with yourself with the, oh my goodness, you are sick, bro. You feel me? Like, and it's the same thing I said about the Dahmer thing. Like, dude, like, you're not. I'm like, yeah. Y'all are some sick human beings, bro. Like, seriously. Like, something is really wrong with people like y'all. Like,
Just 3 months later, the killer struck again, this time targeting 21-year-old Catherine Bright. On April the 4th, 1974, Rader broke into Bright's home when she wasn't there and waited for her return. When the young woman came back, accompanied by her younger brother Kevin, they were greeted by a man with a gun. Again, Rader played the role of a robber, reassuring his victims that as long as they gave him the money and the car keys, he would not harm them. At gunpoint, Kevin tied his sister to a chair and then went into the bedroom with the intruder, where he was also tied and gagged. However, once Rader slipped a knotted stocking around his neck and began strangling him, that is when Kevin realized the true danger he was in, and he started to fight back. The scuffle was brief because Rader pulled out a gun from his waistband and shot Kevin Bright. He left the room for a moment, then returned and shot him again. He didn't bother to check if his victim was dead, probably because his mind was on his real target, Catherine Bright. As a matter of fact, Kevin was still breathing. In a daze, he managed to get out of the house and stumble into 2 passing bystanders who took him to the hospital and called the police. When the authorities arrived, they found Catherine Bright with multiple injuries, but still alive. She had been stabbed 3 times in the abdomen and also had ligature marks around her throat from being strangled. She was rushed to the hospital, but she died a few hours later. At the time, the police did not associate Catherine Bright's murder with the deaths of the Otero family. Rader didn't wear a mask when he attacked the brother and sister, so they were able to get a description of the killer from Kevin Bright, but this did not lead anywhere. Afterwards, the murders stopped for a few years. Right off the bat, Rader's killings were a way for him to get attention. When his crimes weren't making headlines anymore, he would rekindle public interest in them by writing to the media or the police. His first attempt at communication happened in October 1974, 9 months after he killed the Oteros. Rader contacted the Wichita Eagle anonymously and told them to look inside a certain book at the local public library. There they found a letter whose author was claiming credit for the Otero murders, while also dismissing the other police suspects as nothing but people wanting publicity for his actions. The letter contained details about the killings that had not been made public, so the authenticity was beyond doubt, but police asked the newspaper not to publish it in order to prevent more false confessions. The Eagle complied, but the competing Wichita Sun also got their hands on a copy, and they published parts of the letter in December. Here are a few pertinent quotes that illustrate the killer's mentality. I write this letter to you for the sake of the taxpayer as well as your time. Those 3 dude you have in custody are just talking to get publicity for the Otero murders. They know nothing at all. I did it by myself and with no one's help. I'm sorry this happened to society. They are the ones who suffer the most. It's hard to control myself. When this monster enters my brain, I will never know. But it's here to stay. How does one cure himself? If you ask for help that you have killed 4 people, they will laugh or hit the panic button and call the cops. I can't stop it, so the monster goes on and hunts me as well as society. Society can be thankful that there are ways for people like me to relieve myself at time by daydreams of some victims being torture and being mine. Maybe you can stop him. I can't.
Bro, you see what I'm saying, bro? You are weird, and then you think it's cool. Like, bro, you think this is cool to do, like, which is the most baffling part. Like, you really think this is cool. Like, you really think you really think like you're like him, cause you're not him, bro. You's a, for real, bro. Feel me? Straight up. Like, this ain't cool at all, bro. Feel me? At all.
He has already chosen his next victim or victims. I don't know who they are yet. The next day, after I read the paper, I will know, but it's too late. Good luck hunting. Yours, truly guilty. There was also the postscript, which was notable for mentioning, for the first time, the moniker by which this killer would be remembered. P.S. Since sex criminals do not change their MO, or by nature cannot do so, I will not change mine. The code word for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them. BTK. You see, he at it again. They will be on the next victim. So now the serial killer had a name, BTK. Now, you might have noticed that the letter was rife with spelling and grammatical errors. I certainly did reading it, but the mistakes were seemingly done at random. BTK appeared to struggle with simple, mundane words, but he had no problem spelling psychotic or perversion. Investigators realized early on that this was probably an attempt by the criminal to make himself look more undereducated than he actually was, and based on the content of the letter, they also believed he studied criminal psychology at one point. Curiously, even though BTK clearly wanted to get credit for the crimes he committed, there was no mention of Catherine Bright in the letter, another reason why police didn't connect the murder until later. BTK went quiet after 1974. It seems like the 5 murders plus the letter were enough to satiate his attention craving for a while at least. He didn't strike again until 1977. On March the 17th, he attacked 26-year-old Shirley Vian in her home. She was there with her 3 children, so she cooperated after he promised to leave them alone. This time, he actually kept his promise. BTK locked the children in the closet, but did not harm them. Well, sort of. In an interview decades later, Rader admitted that he intended to kill them as well, but had to leave the scene before doing so. Shirley Vian, on the other hand, felt the full force of his rage. Police found her on the bed, with her hands and feet bound, having been suffocated with a plastic bag over her head and strangled with a cord tied around her neck. This time, police suspected that this was the work of BTK from the start. The crime scene was very similar to that of the Ateros. It happened in broad daylight. It had clearly been premeditated. The killing method was the same. Phone lines were cut, and the culprit even used the same signature knot for the cord, an important detail that was kept out of the newspapers. BTK killed again the same year. 25-year-old Nancy Fox was found in her home, strangled with her own nylon stockings on December the 8th. This time, though, BTK did something different. He called in his own murder to the police. We're not really sure why, but this crime was carried out at night, and the killer had to break a window to get into the house. Since it differed from the other crime scenes, Rader may have simply wanted to make sure that he got the credit for it. His obsession with recognition was made pretty evident the following year when BTK resumed his letter-writing campaign to the media. It started with a document sent to a local TV station in January 1978. His message was now clear, concise, and error-free. How many do I have to kill before I get my name in the paper or some national attention? The next month, he sent another letter, this time to the Wichita Eagle-Beacon. It contained a poem he titled, "Oh, Death to Nancy." He also first made mention of the mysterious Factor X, which drove him to kill, but most importantly, he claimed to have murdered 7 people, not 6, taking credit for the death of Catherine Bright, although he did not name her. BTK lay dormant for the next 8 years, barring one extremely close call for a woman named Anna Williams, who probably had to count herself the luckiest person in Wichita. Unbeknownst to her, BTK had selected her as his next target. On the 28th of April 1979, he broke into her home and waited for Williams to arrive. However, she was held up and came home much later than BTK anticipated. Frustrated and tired of waiting, he left before her return, but made sure to let her know about what had happened. Rader took one of her scarves and later sent it back, along with a note which said, "Be glad you weren't here, because I was." The BTK case went quiet during the first half of the 1980s. For whatever reason, Rader not only tempered his murderous impulses, but also stopped writing letters in 1979. On the investigative side, police formed a task force that assembled a list with hundreds of suspects and slowly whittled it down until there was nobody left. After about 2 years with no success, the task force was disbanded. With no new leads, more and more investigators were being moved to other assignments, while BTK was quickly becoming a cold case. Many started to believe that BTK was gone from Wichita, one way or another. Even his profile said that as a compulsive psychopath, he would never willingly give up killing, and that it was likely that he was either dead, disabled, or in prison. None of those were true, as it turned out. While the police were searching for him, Rader was still right there along with them, serving his community as a Cub Scout leader, a compliance officer, and even as a council member of the Christ Lutheran Church. Strangely enough, the one piece of communication he had with the police during the 1980s was to actually deny his involvement in the triple murder of the Fager family in 1987, although he did express admiration for the true killer. If nothing else, this showed the authorities that BTK was not dead or in prison. As it turned out, Rader was not quite as inactive as authorities thought he was. He killed 3 more women, but the murders were sufficiently different from his usual MO, the police never connected them to BTK. First was 53-year-old Maureen Hedge in 1985, one of Rader's neighbors. This was his most...
Bro, you killed... Bro, this is what I mean, bro. Like, bro, you killing innocent just because you think you can get... You getting the thrill and all of it. Like, bro, like... Man, that's sad, man.
Daring crime, he thought, because he knew it was very risky to target someone in his immediate area. This is probably why he never claimed credit for the murder until after he was caught. After he strangled her, Rader took her to his church, where he posed her in bondage positions and took photographs. Afterwards, he dumped her body in a ditch along a remote dirt road. It was the first time that BTK made an effort not to have his crime discovered, and it occurred 8 years after the last murder, so it wasn't surprising that Wichita police didn't immediately assume the crime was connected to its infamous serial killer. His next target, however, was far more in line with Rader's usual approach. On September the 16th, 1986, 28-year-old Vicky Wegerel was found in her home strangled with a pair of nylon stockings. Why she was not considered a possible BTK victim, we don't know, probably because this was before the Vega letter from 1987, so authorities were still under the assumption that BTK was gone. Afterwards came another long rest period for the killer. Rader claimed his 10th and final victim in January 1991 when he killed 62-year-old Dolores Davis. As with Maureen Head, she tried to conceal his crime by taking her body and dumping it under a bridge. Even though she was eventually discovered, bound and strangled, Dolores Davis was also not considered a BTK victim. Following his last murder, Rader went into a very long period of inactivity, and the world didn't hear from BTK again for 14 years. Throughout the 1990s, the killer remained silent and the BTK case went cold. His identity probably could have remained a mystery forever if Rader's craving for attention didn't suddenly come back with a vengeance. Most believe that he was angered by an article published 30 years after the Otero murders, which said that Kansas students no longer remembered the name BTK. In March 2004, he sent a new letter to the Wichita Eagle, this time claiming credit for the murder of Vicky Wegerel from 1986. As proof, he included a copy of her driver's license and several photographs of her body, which he had kept all these decades. There was no doubt in the investigators' minds that the letter was genuine, and the case got hot once more. Fortunately for them, there was no shortage of communication from the killer this time around. Clearly, Rader felt that he had been quiet long enough, so he sent 11 messages in 1 year. The police's main concern was that this renewed zeal could mean that BTK was getting ready to kill again. Rader provided a lot of clues about his life in the messages he sent. He claimed to have been born in 1939. He said his dad died in World War II and that he also served in the military. He said that he used to repair copiers and that he once operated a ham radio. Most of the claims were false, but their goal was to taunt the authorities, showing them that even with his help, they still couldn't catch BTK. Eventually, the killer got too cocky and made a big mistake that led to his capture. In one letter, he asked the police if a floppy disk could be traced or not. They said no, because of course they did. Who in their right mind would have expected them to tell the truth in this situation? For whatever reason, Rader trusted them, so with his next communique, he included a floppy disk. On the disk, police were able to recover a deleted Word file, which still had metadata on it that directed...
And that's exactly what you get, bro. You feel me? And I hope they had a playing field with you in the... Bro, because you did this to innocent people for no reason at all. Because you had a weird fantasy. Feel me? Straight up.
Them to the Christ Lutheran Church and pointed the finger at Dennis Rader. After 30 long years, investigators knew the name of BTK, but they needed more solid evidence. Fortunately for them, the killer had left his DNA at several of the crime scenes. They obtained a subpoena for the medical records of Kerry Rawson, Rader's daughter, and compared a routine pap smear from her with the killer's DNA. It was a familial match. Kerry's father was BTK. Dennis Rader was finally arrested on February the 25th, 2005. According to lead investigator Ken Landwehr, Rader was shocked that the police lied to him about the disc, especially Landwehr, who the killer called by his first name and thought the two had a close...
Why would you be shocked, bro? That's the poll. You think the poll was gonna work with? That's why you got what you deserve, bro. You feel me? Straight up.
Report together. He later said in an interview that the floppy did me in. After he got over his feelings of betrayal, the investigation and subsequent trial went relatively smoothly. Rader confessed to all 10 killings and received 10 consecutive life sentences and will spend the rest of his days in maximum security prison. So
I'm gonna end it right there, Slime, man. To me, bro, you should have got the death penalty, bro, because, bro, you did this to innocent people for just because you had a little, man, because you had a fantasy. You feel me? You took innocent people's lives, bro. You feel me? So, nah, bro, to me, 10 life sentences ain't good enough, bro. You need to, feel me? But that's just me. A lot of y'all probably might be laying you too harsh, but, you know, it is what it is, bro. Look what he did, you feel me? But y'all let me know in the comments how y'all feel about it in the comments below. You feel me? Like I said, man, happy Halloween, man. And if you haven't seen my other, like, forensic files and, like, my murder case reactions, like, bro, I got, like I said, bro, on the channel, I got a whole playlist, like, of all of it. So go check all of them out, you feel me? And make sure to go check out my music reactions, too, and the story times and the funny reactions, like, everything on the channel, you feel me? And like I said, man, happy Halloween, man. Y'all stay safe, and I'm going to get at y'all in the next one. I love y'all. One.